Hey everyone, it's Hillary Topper here, and I'm from We Are Triathletes, and it gives me great pleasure to have Bill Brenner from USMS on live with us. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Bill. Hey Bill, welcome.
Hey, good morning, Hillary. How are you?
Good. So tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get involved in USMS? What exactly is USMS and why should triathletes be interested?
Sure. Grew up as a swimmer, everything from age group to high school to college swimming. Took a long time off while I raised my family and had my career, and I wanted to get back into the sport and found master swimming. And I love the idea of being in a group setting with a coach on deck, where I have like-minded individuals around me. We all have different goals, different motivations, but yet some are the same. We just want to get better. Maybe some of us want to get faster. Some of us want to, have goals in mind along the lines of competition. So fortunate was the national office got relocated to Sarasota, Florida, where I lived. I had the right job and skill set for this position. Joined Master Swimming in 6 years now, and it's been a great journey, especially bringing the joy of swimming to so many other adults, whether they're just learning to swim or they're an elite athlete looking to compete, both in the pool and in open water, as well as the triathletes that we attract.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of different programs at USMS that you offer athletes and swimmers and triathletes. Is that correct?
Correct. All of our programs are welcoming to all ability levels, and they really kind of cater to people from different skill sets to different motivations to different even events and sports. I think the benefit of a triathlete coming to work with a master's coach is it's somebody that's on the deck with them, looking and seeing what needs to be improved, what corrections can be made, and then how to go about it. Because the last thing any swimmer wants, any adult wants, is somebody trying to fix everything all at once. And there's a certain frustration level, and it's kind of like, geez, do I really want to change everything? I think our approach at Master Swimming is to really take things a piece at a time. Recently, we introduced a clinic course for coaches to really train coaches how to run a successful swim clinic, a stroke development clinic. But what we're learning from that is it really helps a master's coach figure out what individual pieces of a person's stroke need to be fixed first before they can fix the entire thing. So it's a way to start from scratch, but not try to fix everything at once. So give it some time. It seems to be a great method to improve swimmer strokes, no matter whether they're an open water swimmer or a pool swimmer, competitive, non-competitive. People just want to swim better. They want to swim more efficiently. And I think that's really important for a triathlete.
Absolutely. And when you become a member of USMS, I've heard that you could attend any master's swim class, no matter where you are. Is that correct?
Well, not exactly. The thing is, when you have membership in our organization, you're welcomed at many of our master's practices throughout the country. You would pay a slight or a small drop-in fee in many cases, but that depends too on the club itself. For example, just because you're a USMS member and there's a club at the New York Athletic Club, it doesn't mean that you're automatically allowed to come to the New York Athletic Club and swim in their master's practice. YMCAs, Parks and Recs, JCCs, even some other private health clubs have the ability to drop in, but I'd check the website first before I showed up expecting to swim that day.
Okay, great. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about open water, because that's been a huge thing for many of the members that We Are Triathletes. The first question that someone sent me is, why are you slower in open water than you are in the pool?
Well, slower in terms of the speed to get from distance A to B. Sometimes there's a lot of variations, especially if you're dealing with any kind of wind, any kind of current, any kind of chop. You're more buoyant in salt water, and you're obviously more buoyant if you're wearing a wetsuit, but sometimes those factors don't necessarily lead to speed. Speed is how much propulsion that you can deliver with the least amount of resistance, least amount of drag. So a lot of times that open water environment creates a lot more that you have to overcome. And we do that by changing the shape of our vessel and trying to get out of our own way in many cases. So that's kind of why we swim a little bit slower in open water. Plus, we got to figure out where we're going. A lot of times in that pool, we're looking at that black line, and that's easy to swim straight. In an open water, a lot of variations, just even in our own stroke, if we had perfect conditions, are going to lead us in a little bit of a one direction or another, and therefore making it longer to get from point A to point B.
Now, I lost the visual, Bill, so I'm not sure if your camera went out. You may want to check that. But while you're doing that, I'm going to ask you, so how can you get faster in open water?
Well, that's the technique. It's really down to technique of what your stroke looks like and how you are either cutting through the water or not cutting through the water. So it's really, what is that shape of the vessel and how do you do that? There's things involved. There's the timing of everything from the breath to the stroke to the recovery stroke, the propulsion of the kick, and then the body position in the water. So much of the time we're fighting with ourselves. Our buoyancy is up in our lungs. Our center of gravity is down low. And one's going up, one wants to go down. And anytime we change the position of our head, whether it's to take a breath, to take a sight, that's in conflict with what we're trying to do in terms of stay as horizontal on the water as possible. Sorry, Hillary, I just can't seem to get the picture back, but I'm glad you can hear me. I'm much better listening to me than looking at me.
So are there any drills that you would recommend to We Are Triathletes that would help them to get faster in open water?
Well, sure. I think a lot of the time is how much time are we spending breathing? And are we lifting our head to breathe because we're used to that as part of the sighting process? Or are we really trying to keep that horizontal position in the water by breathing more to the side, not up in front? I think the breath timing is really important, especially if you're breathing too late in your stroke or for too long. Think about the propulsion. Think about when you're delivering the propulsion. Most sprinters, if you're in the water, in the pool, they're going faster when they're not breathing. Now, I'm not advocating that we breathe every 8th stroke when we're in open water. When I swim open water, I breathe every stroke. Oxygen is really a good thing. I need it. And I swim better when I have it. So the idea is how to minimize the breath and how to put it in the right part of the stroke that it doesn't make the other part of the stroke fall apart to the point where you're in your own way. So it's really a long stroke out front. Make sure that arm that's on the opposite side of the side that you're breathing on is supporting the breath. It's not under you, pulling and trying to create propulsion to take the breath. There is no reason to propel yourself to take the breath. And that's usually from a comfort level, people saying, I feel like I need to lift myself up to get the breath. You just need to rotate to the side, and if you have any forward momentum, there's going to be that pocket back there that you're going to be able to find that's going to be fine for taking in your oxygen, taking in your air.
When you talk about different types of water, like before you said that when you're swimming in salt water, you're more buoyant as opposed to a lake that's fresh water. Are there any specific techniques that we should use in different water, lake versus ocean versus river?
I think it more is what's the surface of the water and is how choppy is it? And are you going into it? Are you going through it? Are you with it? Or is it from the side? Do you need to learn to bilateral breathe? I think that's the one thing that people struggle with, because when they grow up and they're not a proficient swimmer, they've learned to breathe on one side, and learning that bilateral breathing is really tough, and it really needs to be taken from the very beginning again of learning how to breathe and practice that breath on that other side. What we're teaching now in many cases is what kind of arm recovery is coming with open water swimming. Instead of it being, okay, and everybody remembers that drill maybe when they were a kid, that high elbow recovery with fingertips dragging along the surface. We're getting away from even teaching that in the pool and especially in open water. And we're letting the recovery be not necessarily straight arm, but a lot straighter, and then entering from the side. And the big key here is we don't want it entering in front of our head. We want it still entering the water in front of our shoulder. And we don't want to enter in thumb first. We want to enter in fingertips first. So it's that recovery that makes a little bit of a difference in open water. And it's a lot easier on the shoulders too. So if you've got somebody swimming open water events, 5K, 10K, and there's no break, there's no walls, there's no flip turns, wow, you're really going to wear on that shoulder. And we're really stressing the injury prevention when it comes to that arm recovery.
Interesting. When another question I think that comes up a lot with open water is that people are really afraid to be in the open water. They're afraid of sharks or something biting them, jellyfish or whatever. Do you have any tips and suggestions on overcoming that fear of open water so that they can get past that?
Well, if you have a group that you can swim with, a lot of times that fear factor comes in doing it by yourself. You know, when I'm out there by myself, a lot of things are entering into my brain when it comes to my environment and what's my surroundings. When I'm swimming with a group of people, I feel like there's not only strength in numbers, but there's kind of that, that I'm at ease a little bit, that if something does go wrong, I've got the support staff there. Or it doesn't even enter my mind because now I've got these other things going on around me that are, you know, am I drafting off the right person? Am I going the right direction? Who's in front of me? Who's next to me? That kind of thing. And I tend not to concern myself with those other things. So swimming with a group is a big positive. And the other is just getting used to it. You know, the first time to swim in an open water event in an ocean or any body of water that may have those obstacles or those things in it, you want to do that ahead of time and not be the first day being the day of your competition. So you have some comfort. So I think that's the only thing I can say other than, you know, just don't think about it. Just think about your stroke and start thinking about stroke count and bring some other things into your mind that can take you away from thinking about those uglies.
Absolutely. We all have these like negative things that happen. So that was great.
What do you worry about, Hillary, when you're swimming open water? Do you have those fears?
Sometimes I do. When you know, it's when you're swimming in the Caribbean or when you're swimming in Florida where the water is pretty pristine in certain parts. It's so different. It's such a different experience than when we're swimming here in New York, where the water is mucky. You can't see anything, you know. So what happens is you go from the pool where you could see everything, you could see what you're doing, to going to a place where it's very dark and you can't see a thing. And I think that becomes an issue with a lot of people, you know, going into the open water thinking what's beyond, you know, it's like what's going to get you.
Right. Well, so would you rather see what's below you like in the Caribbean, or would you rather be in that mucky water where you can't see and it's like, okay.
Oh, I would totally rather see. Absolutely. Okay. Without a doubt.
Okay. Have you ever seen anything then when you were swimming that said, oh my God, there's that fish, there's that thing, and that was like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting to see that? And did it scare you?
I saw a swordfish once while I was swimming, and that was a little bit scary. And so I just kept going. You know what? I just kept going, and I took that thought out of my mind, and the swordfish just avoided me. So I think the swordfish was more scared of me than I was scared of it. So
that's probably the case with most of them, and that's good advice. Is they really are more afraid of you than you should be of them, because they're not really looking to hurt you.
Right. Now, can you tell us a couple of really great places, some of the best places that you've been or you've heard of to do some open water swimming?
Well, like the Caribbean because I can see, and it's really, really pretty. The surroundings, usually the water's reasonable as long as you're not going at the time when the surf is really high. We have a beautiful beach here, Siesta Key in Sarasota, where we have our open water swim practice every Saturday morning year round. And the conditions there on the Gulf side are very, very, very nice. And we can get a great, good 5K swim in on a Saturday morning in a group. And so that's Siesta Key is beautiful for that, and it's protected, and I can give you a lot of good reasons. Plus, it's my home base, so I tend to like it. Some other great open water. I mean, there's so much in our country. We've got 1,000+ miles of coastline. You just want to do it where you're going to, maybe it's pretty, but is it protected? You really need to know what your environment is, and are you ready for that environment? Just because you've heard other people can do it, you have to know what your skill level is before you enter it. And obviously you don't want to swim alone, but even swimming with others, you got to make it safe. So we have a sponsor with US Masters Swimming. I'll give a little plug. It's called Swim Trek, and our sponsor takes groups of swimmers all around the country, all around the world actually, on group swims. And it's a great organization if you want to take a look at their website to find out more about where some of the great places to swim open water.
That's awesome. I mean, so do they do all levels of swimming, or is it just more advanced, or?
It's all levels, and there's guides that go with you, multiple guides, so you're never swimming by yourself, but it's over a period of time. I know one of the most popular areas is swimming some of the islands in Greece, and they go to multiple islands, so you get to swim in that environment, and it's just gorgeous, the pictures, and it creates quite a memorable experience that you can share with others because, let's face it, a lot of people can swim in the Gulf or the Atlantic or up there in New York. But when it comes to a destination like that, that tends to be pretty good water cooler talk when you return from that trip.
That sounds awesome. That's something I'm going to look into. Thank you for sharing that. In terms of, I mean, right now it's the beginning, the start for New Yorkers to get in the water. I mean, around the country, we have board members and we have members from We Are Triathletes all over the country, and in certain parts they swim all year round, like you do in Florida. But for us, for New Yorkers getting into the open water at this point, it's probably about 50, 55 degrees. Any tips to offer?
Wetsuit. Yeah, wear a wetsuit. You don't want to shock your body because you've probably not acclimated at all. And the first thing or the last thing you'd like to do right away is to really shock your body into some sort of a medical condition. I'm not saying that happens or it's automatic, but it does happen. And you really need to make sure that you get some sort of acclimation and maybe not go for too long the first time and just warm up to it, in terms of what your body acclimates to. Because the other thing that happens is if you're cold and you're going to change your stroke, either you're going to change your stroke rate, you could potentially even hurt yourself by having poor technique by being so tense and not loose and relaxed first time out or first few times out. So take it easy and make it a long season and not a short season because of an injury or a medical condition.
Absolutely. And talk to us a little bit about some of the programs that you offer at US Masters Swimming and where you're going to be around the country in the next couple of weeks.
Well, one of the things that we do, a couple of things. We educate our coaches through a Master's Coach certification program. Those are in classroom sessions. We educate approximately 700 coaches a year throughout the country. And one of the things that we found were coaches want more practical experience of what to do on the deck. And so we started offering stroke development clinics for our athletes, for our members, for potential members, and then having the coach that just took the level 1 and 2 class be on the deck with these swimmers with a practical experience of what they learned in the classroom, so they could apply it. And that's going very well right now. We'll be in New York City this weekend at John Jay College. People can contact me if they're interested in attending the Stroke Development Clinic. More than happy to welcome them. Take a look at their stroke and go through this progression that USMS has developed to really start from scratch, but make it in a short period of time. And as adults, we can accept, reject, or modify, and take out of it what we want. But learn how to correct our own selves. You know, we're adults. We know what changes we might need to make, but now I'm teaching them how to make those changes and what to do going forward. So lots of programs, lots of clinics. We do about 40 clinics a year throughout the country, and you can find them on our usms.org website.
I was just going to ask that. And do you have also a phone number, or just go to usms.org and all of the information is there?
Oh, sure. Well, you're always, I'd give you my cell phone, but I really don't think I want to blow that out of the water. Yeah, even though I'm traveling a lot. You can call us directly at area code 941-256-8767. That's the fastest way to reach our office. And if you need to speak to me, I'm at extension 312.
Awesome. I want to thank you so much, Bill, for being on the show. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but the information was fantastic. So I really do appreciate it. And thank you again, and bye everyone tuning out from We Are Triathletes.